So, spent a good while making all the initial set of tutorials for Flowworks, in particular covering each of the little menu items. And so I feel compelled to put this together to kind of give you a prelude. So probably you're watching this first before you get into it. So I just wanted to relay some experiences to you. The first time I walked into a classroom and there was one of these touch screens there, I thought, okay, this is interesting. But there were no pens. And it took my school, another 6 months to a year to figure out how to get us pens. They ended up tying them with a string or something in the classroom. And then it was just kind of up to us to sort of figure it out. So eventually I learned that the pen would work as a mouse, and so you could certainly use it as a mouse anytime. And anytime you open up an application that uses a pointing device, a drawing application, or even a browser, you could use the pen instead of your mouse, and that was cool. But I figured there was something missing. So eventually I found out that Flowworks came with those tablets, and I started playing around. And when I first went in, I just couldn't make much sense of it, and I quit it and said, never mind, this is not worth it. Probably a good while later, I decided to really force myself to learn the tools there. And what's interesting is, even though there's a lot of interesting features in Flowworks, the single most useful thing for me has been just the drawing screen. What it's allowed me to do is, we have a lecture capture system at our school, and it's allowed me to open up that white screen and use that as my whiteboard while I'm sitting at the podium. What that means is that my lecture capture recording captures what I'm doing on that screen, rather than having to have a physical camera pointing at the whiteboard. Now, the downside is I can't run around the room like I normally do. But the upside is there's a nice recording of everything. So instead of making a diagram on the whiteboard as I would normally do, I make the diagram on Flowworks. And the truth is, I very rarely save those. I just do them for the classroom, record them as part of the lecture capture solution that our school is working on, and then they become part of that. Now, if we didn't have the lecture capture solution, I could save that those as a series of images. And Flowworks has a number of different ways to export, and hopefully we'll get into that in some more advanced tutorials. But if you've got just imagine you're in a classroom and you've got a big projector and a big screen on the wall, but often what happens is that projector screen covers the whiteboards. So you're like having to raise your screen to go draw, and then you lower the screen, and it's just the nature of being in front of the class is these are conflicting things, the projector and the whiteboard or the chalkboard. So this allows you basically to use your projector as a whiteboard. It also allows you to face your audience, face your students while you're drawing. And that's a powerful thing, because traditionally we've always had to turn our back to our audience in order to write on an environment that they can see. So now you can continue to face your students, but you can draw and they will see it on the screen as if it were a whiteboard. And that's a really pretty cool thing. So that's the good part. The bad part is, having gone through kind of each menu item fairly laboriously within Flowworks, there's some real usability issues. There's a couple things that just don't work the way they ought to, or are not intuitive, and I've tried to cover those in the tutorials by keeping things kind of concise and to the point. But just oddball things like the way you toggle between one application and the other, and moving that menu item around, and your image library, the things that they just need a little bit of help. And one feels that the company could step up a little and tidy that up, and I will probably be in touch with them on that. Because I think there's a lot of potential there. But again, a really great way to do a whiteboard through the computer. As far as recording and using later, we're going to have to experiment a little further with that and see what kind of cool things we could do with that. I found that the screen capture recording was not terribly useful. It doesn't do sound. There are many free tools that do a better job of that. And the recording within the slide, I'm just not sure how useful that is, but I'll be racking my brains for good examples. But the other things, the pen width, height, the drawings, creating slides, importing images, that's all pretty good stuff and can be used, I think, in a lot of different instructional environments. So I'm D.I. von Briesen with Tropical Teachers. I hope that you benefit from these tutorials, and we'll have another series coming out that are a little more advanced, going into some of the details we didn't cover. We covered just the main menu items in this first round, and then we'll go into more of the details under the Start menu, including some cool little widgets, and then go into some more practical examples. So I'm eager for your feedback. If you go to TropicalTeachers.com, you'll find links to all of this stuff. And there's a mail form there. You can send me an email, or you can just email di@TropicalTeachers.com. Thanks so much.